Om Ajnanatimidandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Dhena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th Canto, Chapter 9, Prahlad pacifies the Lord with prayers. And this is starting up at text number 35. Satva Mayoni Ativismita Ashitobjam Kalena Tivra Tapasa Parishuddha Bhavaha Tomat Manisha Bhuvigandam Ivati Sukshmam Bhutendrayasha Yamaye Vitatam Tatarsha. Lord Brahma, who is celebrated as Atma Yoni, having been born without a mother, was struck with wonder. Thus he took shelter of the lotus flower, and when he had been purified after undergoing severe austerities for many hundreds of years, he could see that the cause of all causes, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was spread throughout his own body and senses, just as aroma, although very subtle, is perceived in the earth. Purport. Here the statement of self-realization, aham brahmasmi, which is interpreted by the Mayavad philosophy to mean that I am the Supreme Lord, is explained. The Supreme Lord is the original seed of everything. Janmad yasa yata aham sarvasya prabhavo matak sarvam pravartate. Thus the Supreme Lord extends everywhere, even throughout our bodies, because our bodies are made of material energy, which is the Lord's separated energy. One should realize that since the Supreme Lord spreads throughout one's body, and since the individual soul is part and parcel of the Lord, everything is Brahman. Sarvam kalavidam Brahma. This realization was achieved by Lord Brahma after he was purified, and it is possible for everyone. When one is completely in knowledge of Aham Brahmasmi, he thinks, I am part of the Supreme Lord, my body is made of his material energy, and therefore I have no separate existence. Yet although the Supreme Lord is spread everywhere, he is different from me. This is the philosophy of Chintya Bhedabe Tattva. An example is given in this regard of that of the aroma within the earth. In the earth there are aromas and colors, but one cannot see them. Actually, we find that when flowers grow from the earth, they appear with different colors and aromas, which they have certainly gathered from the earth, although in the earth we cannot see them. Similarly, the Supreme Lord, by his different energies, spreads throughout one's body and soul, although we cannot see him. An intelligent man, however, can see the Supreme Lord existing everywhere. Andantarasta paramanu charyantarastam. The Lord is within the universe and within the atom by his different energies. This is the real vision of the Supreme Lord for the intelligent man. Brahma, the first created being, became the most intelligent person by his tapasya, austerity, and thus he came to this realization. We must therefore take all knowledge from Brahma, who became perfect by his tapasya. So in this verse, Atma Yoni is Lord Brahma, because he was born without a mother, came from the lotus stem of Vishnu. And in the Brahma Samhita, we hear about the lotus flower, which is the reservoir of all the living entities. And Brahma, after coming out on the lotus, was in abject darkness and searched up and down, even went down into the water through the lotus stem. This was the causal ocean, Garbhodak ocean, and was searching for his source. And in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that Narupam asyeha tato palabdyate nanto nacharir nachasam pratishta ashvatamiram suvaruda mulam asanga shastrena jidhena chitva. That this material world is like a banyan tree and you can't see its form. Narupam asyeha tato palabdyate ananto nanto nachadir. You can't see the beginning or the end. Nanto nachadir nachasam pratishta. You can't see where it stands, where it's coming out of. Ashvatamiram suvaruda mulam, but it's deeply rooted. Suviruda means a mulam, means it's a deeply rooted tree. Asanga shastrena jitena chitva, but you must cut down that tree with the weapon of asanga, detachment. And so Brahma was trying to find his origin. He searched up and down, couldn't find it. And then finally, in the version of the Bhagavatam, he heard the words tapa, which, being very intelligent, he could understand from the Sanskrit alphabet that these words, these two syllables together meant that he should perform penance in order to understand the Supreme. And in the Brahma Samhita, we hear that Uvacha puratas tasmai tasya divir saraswati kama krishnaya govinda he gopi jana ityapi balabhaya priyavahanira mantram te dasati priyam tapastam tap etena tapasidhir bhavishyati. That Divya Saraswati, divine Saraswati, appeared before Brahma. This is Saraswati from the spiritual world who appeared to him and instructed him in a mantra. He gave Uvacha puratas tasmai tasya divya saraswati kama krishnaya govinda hi gopijani tibi. She gave him a mantra. And that mantra, she said, will give you all perfection. Practice this tapasya by saying this mantra, and you'll come to the perfect stage. So Brahma began performing tapasya, and for a long time, and then Krishna revealed himself to him. So the verse says that thus he took shelter of the lotus flower, and when he had been purified after undergoing severe austerities for many hundreds of years, he could see that the cause of all causes, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was spread throughout his own body and senses, just as aroma, although very subtle, is perceived in the earth. So one point is that we must perform austerity to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The first austerity is the austerity of the tongue. The Padma Purana says, Atashi Krishna namani na bhaved graim indriyai sevan mukhi jihado swayameva spuratyada. That when you control your tongue, and there's two ways. One way is to talk about Krishna, chant Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And when there's the urge to speak, you should speak about Krishna. That means Krishna Katha. You can talk about Krishna's instructions. You can also talk about Krishna's pastimes. Or if you're saying things which are in relationship to Krishna for your service, this is also considered to be transcendental speech. For instance, Carlos may say, bring me that hammer, because he's building a shelf for the broadcasting system over here. And because it's engaged, that sound vibration is engaged in Krishna's service, then Brahmarpanam Brahmahavir Brahmagnau Brahmano Hutam Tenaiva Brahmagantavyam Brahmakarma Samadhina. Krishna says, anything engaged in the service of the Supreme becomes transcendentalized, because matter is simply spirit covered over by sense gratification. So when anything's engaged in Krishna's service, it becomes spiritual. And so if you begin by speaking about Krishna and also tasting, that's the other business of the tongue, you take only food that's offered first to Krishna, Mahaprasad. These two things, then swayameva spuratyada, then Krishna will reveal himself to you. So this is the main austerity in the tongue. It has a straight line to all the other senses. If you control the tongue, then all the other senses will come under control. And the first verse by Rupa Goswami in the Upadeshamrita, we all know, Vacho vegam manasa kroda vegam, jihva vegam udaropasta vegam, etan vegam yo vishiheta dhira, sarvamapimam pritivim sashishat, which means that one must learn to control all the urges of the senses. All the senses have their urges, or vegas. And he starts with vacho vegam. So there's an urge to speak. Generally, people like to rumor monger when there's some rumor going around, or some news. Like on the news, they talk about any old thing. Anything that will attract people's attention, they'll talk about it. And if you don't watch the news, then you're lucky, because none of those impulses come into your mind. Says, get somebody got about, and you don't have to pass it on. And all kinds of ways that people talk about what happened in the village. did you hear what happened to Mary Sue down the street? Her car got broken into, and that's not the half of it. So this is Gramya Katha, what's going on in the village, what happened to who said what to whom, who left whom, whatever's going on in the village. This is Gramya Katha. It's a waste of time. It diffuses one's energy for spiritual life. And this is unrestricted talking is compared to the croaking of frogs. Frogs croak and croak and croak, and they think it sounds very beautiful, and they're trying to attract a mate, but the vibration also attracts the black snake. It slithers through the grass, and it finds the frog because of the sound vibration. So similarly, death stalks those who simply speak unnecessarily, and then death grabs you. So one should control one's speech, and if you can do this by speaking about Krishna and restricting the speech to those things which are important for one's business. Now, if you have a business and you have a livelihood, that's also okay. You can speak about your business. Obviously, you're not going to go to work and when they ask you, can you fix this bug in the computer? You say, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. But you do your duty, do what you have to do because you have a right to maintain yourself. And you do that dutifully, just be sober and be careful of how you speak. And if you act like this is the best austerity. And the first austerity will help control all the other senses if you just control the tongue. Be aware of that. And then Brahma became aware that the personality of Godhead was spread throughout his own body and senses, just as aroma, although very subtle, is perceived in the earth. So Prabhupada quotes the verse, Andantarasta paramanu chayantarastam. The Lord is within the universe and within the atom by his different energies. So we're never separated from Krishna. Krishna is in our heart, that's for sure. And Mukunda Dato, I visited yesterday, talked for a few hours, and one thing he said to me before he left, he said, Super Soul speaks very quietly and he doesn't often repeat himself. So he said that you have to listen carefully because he's there within the heart. Very subtle, though. When our senses are engaged in thrashing about in the material world, in gross objects, and the mind and intelligence are absorbed in thoughts of sense gratification, sound drowns out the instructions coming from Super Soul from within. We can't hear it. And Krishna's there throughout our entire body. He's the support system of our entire body as well. And we can perceive that he's everywhere, and we're never separated from him. In the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Aham Vaishva Naro Bhutva Praninam Dihamashrita Pranapana Samayukta Pachanyanam Chaturvidam. Krishna says, I'm the fire of digestion. I'm the ingoing and outgoing breaths within the body. And so Krishna, his digestion, he's there within the process of breath and so on. And he's everywhere. We can experience that Krishna is everything, within everything. Yet, we still have a separate existence. We're still a part and parcel of Krishna. Mamai Vamsho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, 15th chapter, that we're a separated part of Krishna, a parcel of Krishna, a fragment. Qualitatively the same, but quantitatively we're tiny, like a particle of sunshine coming from the sun, like a sun ray coming out of the sun. And so Brahma could realize through his tapasya, his bona fide process of tapasya, the presence of Krishna within his senses. And he could experience that he was everywhere, just like the aroma of a flower becomes all-pervading. So, questions so far? Or comments? We got microphones ready to go, right? Go right ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. When you said that...
I heard today from our technical staff that when you hold the microphone at a certain angle, about 1 inch from your lips, it gets the best reception for our audience. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Okay.
When you said that, Krishna is everywhere, is our digestion system, but why don't we Why I'm not able to connect that thing in my consciousness, all that, because he's the breath, he's the digestion system. But I see that's Krishna, but not what the digestion system is Krishna too. So why can't I do that? Or maybe why that perception is our brain that...
Why can't you see Krishna in all these things, like in the digestion and so forth? Well, he is to be realized, and he reveals himself. Bhaktyamam abhijanati yavanyash chasmi tatvata tatvato gyatvam vishdite tadanat anantaram. I said that second to last line a little bit different. But when you engage in devotional service, then Krishna will gradually reveal himself to you. So it's a descending process by which we understand Krishna. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to say, don't try to see Krishna, but try to act in such a way that Krishna will see you. So by performing yoga, then one gradually comes to understand Krishna. He reveals himself, how he is the intelligence. Prabhupada mentions this in the second canto of the Bhagavatam, that through the process of introspection, you can understand how intelligence is coming to you. It's not you, but it's being provided to you as a gift. And you can understand that intelligence is the form direction of the supersoul. And then you can also understand the various aspects of Krishna as he reveals himself to you. We have to create the environment in which we can understand him, the environment in our mind, in our intelligence, and the senses have to become purified. That sarvapadi vinirmuktan tapratvena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhaktir uchate. This Krishna is the master of the senses. He's called Rishikesh. And he's revealed when our senses are purified. So how do you do that? You can purify your senses through devotional service. When you engage your senses, especially in the processes of shravanam, kirtanam, hearing, chanting, and all the other senses can be engaged in Krishna's service also, the senses become purified. And the body, although apparently material, it becomes spiritualized. Just as when you take an iron rod and you put it in fire, it becomes hotter and hotter and hotter, and then it becomes red hot. Then that bar itself is exactly like fire. So when you engage your senses and your mind, intelligence in Krishna's service, then they also become spiritualized. And sattvam vishuddham vasudeva shabditam. This is confirmed by Lord Shiva in the 4th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Sattvam vishuddham vasudeva shabditam. Look that verse up. Sattvam vishuddham vasudeva shabditam. Yet iyate tatra. This verse confirms that Krishna can be perceived only in the state of pure consciousness. Which page? 217. Look at this verse. This is an important and famous verse. Sattvam vishuddham vasudeva shabditam. 217. Yet iyate tatra puman apavrita satvecha tasmin bhagavan vasudevo yatokshajo me namasa vidhyate. I am always engaged in offering obeisances to Lord Vasudeva in pure Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is always pure consciousness, in which the Supreme Personality of Godhead, known as Vasudeva, is revealed without any covering. So when one comes to the stage of pure consciousness, then you can see Krishna everywhere, within everything, all the time. He's always there. He's always with us. He's within everything, but I can't see him until I achieve a state of pure consciousness. Also confirmed in Brahma Samhita. Premanjana chudita bhakti vilochanena santak sadaiva hridayeshu vilokayanti. Yam shama sundaram achintya gunaswarupam govindamadi purushanta maham bhajami. This verse says, Prema Anjana. When you have the salve of love, it's like you go to the druggist and he gives you a special salve. You put it in your eyes and then you can see. So when people go to the Holy Dham, they look around and go, I don't see anything. But when you have love for Krishna, then the Dham reveals itself. There's a covering over the Dham, so you can't actually see what's going on there. And so our senses are covered over. By what? Sense gratification. And once it's purified and we change our consciousness and our heart is engaged in devotional service, in our hands and our limbs, everything following the heart, then Krishna reveals himself and we can see Sattvam Vishudam Vasudeva Shabditam Yad Iyate Tatra Puman Apavrita. So this means that Iyate means revealed. So Krishna is revealed in that pure consciousness. Otherwise, Queen Kunti says, Maya Javani Kachanam Yadad Hokshajam Avyayam Nalakshashe Mudadrisha Nato Natya Daroyata. That Krishna is like an actor on a stage, and there's a curtain of Mahamaya or Yoga Maya. Of these Maya covers over Krishna, and he reveals himself to whomever he pleases. Nayamatma pravachanena labhyo na medaya na bahunanu shutena yami vaisha vrinute tena labhyas tasyaisha esha vrinute tanum swam. This means you can't attain Krishna by your own efforts. It means that even if you're a great orator or Nayamatma pravachanena labhya, na medhaya, or you're very intelligent, na medhaya na bahudha shutena, and you have great learning, unlimited learning, still you can't see Krishna. But then the verse says, if Krishna decides to reveal himself to you, then who can stop him? This is the only way that we can understand Krishna. He reveals himself to us. It's a descending process. And therefore, in the 13th chapter of the Gita, Krishna describes the process of knowledge. And it begins with humility and pridelessness. We have to become situated in a mode of service and humility. And when we're in the proper state of consciousness, Krishna reveals himself. Other points or questions about this verse? So it's yeah, just so we know that the call-in number is 650-245-7018. That's, you can text in messages, 650-245-7018. Our operators are standing by to take your calls. Okay, Gandharvika.
So Prabhuji, before my question, there is one sentence that is told, intelligence is the some direction.
Form direction of the super soul? Form direction.
Can you
that's Prabhupada's language. Pardon me?
Can you elaborate? Form, F-O-R-M-E-D, that one?
Yeah, F-O-R-M. If you'll give me I'll read you that section if you like, and you can see it in context. But what Prabhupada's talking about there is that you can understand that there's a person who's revealing to you something through the medium of intelligence. If you're in that verse that I'm referring to in the second canto, Prabhupada walks us through an exercise where you introspect and you quiet your senses and look within, and then realize that you're not your body, you're not your mind, and then you see how the intelligence is coming to you from a higher source. And seeing that, you can understand that the form of Krishna is there and he's revealing to you something.
So Prabhu, my question is about the control of the tongue. So especially when means we are so much attached to food, means we take prasadam and all that. But
we're attached to what?
The food.
Yeah.
Sometimes like very specific items or whatever it is. Though it is offered to Krishna, but when it is in front of us, at least for me, I'm not thinking about Krishna, because it's all about like you enjoy it until you're satisfied, even if the body doesn't like it. So how do we control that urge of enjoying?
You have to sing the prayer. If you sing Sharira Vijajao Jodendriya Tahika Jibe Bili Bishya Shogare Dharmaditi Vayati Lobamai Sudurmati Takejita Katina Shangjare Krishna Varadoyamoy Kodibari Jivajoy Shaprashadana dilubai, Shenamrita pao, Radha Krishna gunagao, Premidako Chaitanya Nitai. Now everyone's going to show up for the program. If you say that prayer, it's a very powerful prayer. Before you take prasadam and you think about it and joyfully say, now let us glorify the Lord by taking this prasad. And you meditate on Krishna. It's a meditation, honor prasadam. When you take prasadam, think about Krishna, how kind he is to give us this nice mahaprasad to help control the tongue. And then you'll have the transcendental experience. It's transcendental.
Thank you.
Okay.
Because I think it sometimes feels that we are almost in the Annamaya stage, like almost.
That's okay.
Most of the life.
That's all right. With prasadam, it's okay. This is Lord Chaitanya's special mercy. It's the Lord's special mercy. That just Uddhava says in the third canto that just by wearing the garlands and other things and taking the Lord's prasad, just by that we'll come to the perfectional stage. Have no fear. Don't worry. Prasad's okay. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made his devotees eat up to the neck sometimes, and he would joyfully, they'd take prasad all the time. With the Chaitanya Charitamrita, 1/3 of the book is all about the different preparations they took. And so this is transcendental pastimes of the Lord, because there's variety in the spiritual world, and all these foodstuffs are offered to Krishna in nice ways, with tulsi leaves and, a nice clay cup of water and all these kinds of things. You can't help but be purified by that activity. And if at home you offer your food to Krishna, your whole house, because we're in Annamoy, no doubt about it. But the fact is, if you offer everything to Krishna first, it's like controlling a hurricane practically. The tongue wants to no, I want to eat it. And, hurry up. But if you take that one step and first offer it to Krishna with some prayers, then your whole house, the whole energy of the house comes centered around that offering. If you can just get in that habit of offering everything before you take, then it transcendentalizes the whole house. The whole system becomes purified. Such a nice thing. That's how powerful devotional service is. Just by taking the Lord's prasad, we'll conquer over the elements. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says in one of those prayers that we don't sing yet, in the prasad prayers, he says, today what yogis attain after 10,000 years of meditation, we will attain by taking prasad, taking the Lord's prasad. That's how powerful it is. Yeah.
I just remembered that Mukundadatta Prabhu, he was also...
1 inch.
He gave a lecture on how to make Krishna eat, something based on that, how to make Krishna eat. So he mentioned there about prasadam. I don't remember the exact what he said, but he did say that, during the earlier years, like Prabhupada's, in his movement, many people started coming just because of prasadam, and they ate and ate and ate without realizing, and today many of them are temple presidents and very, very senior devotees.
Yeah.
So I was just remembering that.
Yeah, we should interview everyone, see what made them come. Any other points? So, yes, encouragement, it's coming all the time from Krishna. We just have to take that encouragement. And encourage, the word has the word kor, which means heart. Is there supervision, or is this going to be wild time? So, encourage means that one has to one's heart has to be situated in confidence that Krishna is supporting me. And in many, many ways, unlimited ways, Krishna is sending encouragement to us. So there's a word in the Guru Gāyatrī, in which the word Pracodayāt comes. Also in the Gayatri mantras, this word Pracodayāt. It comes from the Sanskrit word root Chud, and Chud means to encourage. and or to impel forward, chud. And so pra is an intensifier for the word, and then it gets declined in different ways. So Pracodayāt means encouragement. And there's a sādhaka is someone who performs sādhanā. So there's a prachodaka. So you take the word prachodayāt and then you say prachodaka. A prachodaka is the person who's the encourager. So the spiritual master is meant to be a prachodaka. This is what the verse, at the end of the Guru Gāyatrī is saying Pracodayāt. And so we meditate on the spiritual master giving encouragement, and we meditate on how Krishna is encouraging me from within the heart. So it's important to meditate on these encouragements that Krishna is sending. As Srila Prabhupada points out in the last purport of the 15th chapter in the Bhagavad Gita, that we have to overcome weakness of heart in order to advance in devotional service. So weakness of heart is attachment to the material world, this inclination to give up the service of the Lord and become attached to matter, to give in to the weakness of the senses. And then the second stage is to become more and more attached to the material world. And so we must be encouraged to, as I said before, asanga shastrena dridhena chitva. We have to cut down the tree of the material world. And sometimes that's a scary prospect, because I feel like I'm part of this material world. I have a fear that if I give up my protection of the body and I surrender to Krishna, what will happen to me? What about my stake in the material world? I'm going to lose it. So Krishna is encouraging us, don't worry. Ma suchaha. There's one very nice devotee who's writing me letters from prison, and he's saying he loves this verse, ma suchaha. He keeps saying, from ma suchaha, don't worry. Just don't worry. Krishna says, don't worry. And I was looking at that verse the other day when we were in New Vrindavan. It's up on the wall. The sarva dharman parityaja mamekam sharanam braja aham tvang sarva papibhyo mokshayishami ma suchaha. And it's so beautiful. They have the Sanskrit up there too. I was just noticing how beautiful it is. And ma suchaha, don't worry, Krishna is saying. Just don't worry. And if you think about who's saying it, don't worry, don't worry, don't worry, then we get this encouragement. And then Krishna sends us his representatives, all kinds of representatives. There's the Vartmana Pradakshaka Guru, who comes to show us the path of devotional service and introduces us the first time to the idea of Krishna consciousness. And then there's Shiksha Gurus, who encourage us by giving us the transcendental knowledge. It's so encouraging when you meet somebody who's convicted, that they're going to surrender to Krishna. They're in the process of surrender. They have surrendered to Krishna, and they're experiencing Krishna consciousness for themselves, the exhilaration of life in Krishna consciousness. All possibilities are there. And when we hear from them, then we become encouraged. That transfers from their heart to our heart. This kind of shiksha is very powerful. If you come before a devotee who is situated solidly in Krishna consciousness, and you hear his or her katha, then our heart changes. Satam prasangam mama virya sambido bhavanti hrit karna rasayana katha taj joshanad ashu apavarga vartmani shradha ratir bhaktir anukramishati. In the association of satam, these pure devotees, then we can hear and chant. And if we do that, then that sound vibration itself, it purifies the heart, and it takes us away from this weakness of heart, that I'm captivated by the material world. I can't give it up. And then I become shraddha. I become a faithful person. If we're not faithful, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, shraddhana purusha dharmasyasya parantapa. Aprapyamam nivartante mrityusam sarvartmani. You get the path of birth and death in the material world if you're not faithful. So you have to have this most valuable substance, faith, the shraddha. And that comes from the spiritual world. It's an energy that's coming down, and the devotees carry it in their heart, and then they give it to us in this form of encouragement. And why are they doing it? Out of exhilaration. It's out of a feeling of ananda. That's why the acharyas, they go to so much trouble to broadcast the spiritual sound vibration so everybody can hear it. They just want to encourage everybody. Jeev Jago, wake up. Come on, let's go. Let's go back to the spiritual world. Don't stay here. And by hearing that vibration, people do wake up and they become encouraged in devotional service. And then Kṛṣṇa sends his mantras to the material world in the form of the Vedas, and very specifically the most encouraging sound vibrations come from the flute of Kṛṣṇa. Actually encourages everybody in the spiritual world. That flute manifests itself in the material world in the form of the Gayatri mantras. Gāyatrī, it's a song that liberates you from the entanglement in the material world. You just hear that song. We were telling people the other day in Toronto, we were on the street, beautiful day, beautiful weather out there, distributing books on the street. And we just tell people, Bhagavad Gita, it's the song of God. It's said that anybody who hears this song, it wakes up their love for God in their heart. And also, a great way we were telling people how to give a donation. Should I tell you? It's fantastic, unbelievable. It's something you've heard before, but it's just a little bit more developed than last time. But I couldn't believe it, that it came out, and I thought it was practically irresistible, apparently. So I tell people that we don't sell the book like in stores. We just take a donation, but we don't need the money. The reason we ask is, when you give something in return for spiritual knowledge, it connects you to all the previous teachers who have passed this down over thousands of years, and they sacrificed their whole lives to bring it to us. And when you perform the penance of giving a donation, it opens the door and your connection to all those previous teachers and all their knowledge. And people are like, okay, where's my... Let me get what you... How much? But they're all waiting there. They're all these spiritual teachers. They have no other agenda in life. As Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, the self-realized person has no duty to perform. Duty means some obligation in the material world. Sarvatmana yasharanam sharanyam gato mukundam parihrita kartam. Bhagavatam says, a sarvatmana yasharanam, a person who's given their whole soul, everything to Krishna. They've surrendered. I surrender. Masuchaha, I believe it, I surrender. They have no other duty to perform. They have no obligation, and no more debt. And nobody can hold anything over them anymore. They're free to encourage everybody. Because in politics, as Prahlad Maharaj was saying earlier in our teachings, when you're politically minded, when you have a vested interest in the material world, and you're thinking, if I make friends with that guy, I'm going to lose out. And even though I like him, I can't make friends with him. If I make an alliance, the wrong alliance, then I'm going to blow it with everybody else. I'm going to miss my money, I'll miss my paycheck, whatever. When we're bought and sold by our material desires, then we can't be full encouragers. But Krishna, he's free, and his representatives are free to encourage everybody and pass down this encouragement. So Krishna encourages through the Gayatri mantra, the flute, and it gets realized by Brahma. It comes out as the Gayatri mantra and it gets passed down. And then later that Gayatri expands into the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's the flute song of Krishna. All you have to do is hear it. And then the encouragement that the heart awakens, the Shrinvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridyantakstohi Bhadrani Vidhunoti Suritsatam. You get encouragement from Surit within the heart, the most dear friend who's within the heart, helps you in all ways, encourages you like anything to, you can do this. He's always encouraging from within the heart. Take the next step, surrender a little bit more, come to me, give up the dark material world, and it's altogether possible. Prabhupada says it right here in the purport. Everybody can do this. You can, step by step, by taking these encouragements from the prachodakas, those who are passing on the encouragement, then you just take it in, take the encouragement, imbibe it. And then asanga shastrena jitena chitva tatapadam tat parimargitavyam. So that means then you're on a different path altogether. once you cut down the tree, then you're free to search out that place from which everything is emanating, and where the Supreme Personality of God, that's Suhrit, his abode is there. What an exciting challenge in life to go after that original abode where the primeval Lord is there. So altogether possible by taking the encouragement coming down, and the Shastras encouraging like anything. The Shastras are our best friend. They encourage us in so many different ways, and they also guide us through the darkness of the material night that we're in this material world. Tell us, don't step there, be careful over here. What a friend, like speaking to us in such a way to encourage us to come back home, back to Godhead. And so many other people who are invested in the material world, they encourage us, stay in the material world. don't go back to Godhead. Don't go on that crazy path. It's a cult. Even the gopis said that to the flute. It's this be careful. This flute is, in this dangerous cult. And if you hear the sound, it's going to get you involved also. It's true. Become entangled in the spiritual world. So that's the process of accepting encouragement. It comes to us in so many different ways, and it's there at all time. We just have to be receptive to it and learn how to accept that encouragement. And then when the heart feels encouraged, we can overcome all kinds of obstacles and move ahead in devotional life very easily. Next verse. Evam sahasravaranangri shirakaroru nasadya karuna nasadya karna nayana bharuna yudhadyam mayamayam sadalak upalakshita sanivesham drishva mahapurusha apamudam virinchaha. Well, you know it's about Brahma because it has virincha in it, right? Translation: Lord Brahma could then see you possessing thousands and thousands of faces, feet, hands, heads, thighs, noses, ears, and eyes. You were very nicely dressed, being decorated and bedecked with varieties of ornaments and weapons. Seeing you in the form of Lord Vishnu, your symptoms and form being transcendental, your legs extending from the lower planets, Lord Brahma achieved transcendental bliss. Do we have a text? If you'd like to text in a question or a comment, it's 650-245-7018. Purport: Lord Brahma, being completely pure, could see the original form of the Lord as Vishnu, having many thousands of faces and forms. This process is called self-realization. Called what? Self-realization. Genuine self-realization consists not of perceiving the impersonal effulgence of the Lord, but seeing the Lord face to face, the transcendental form of the Lord. As distinctly mentioned here, Lord Brahma saw the Supreme Lord as Mahapurush, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Arjuna also saw Krishna in the same way. Therefore, he told the Lord, Param Brahma, Param Dhamma, Pavitram Paramam Bhavan, Purusham Shashvatam Divyam. You are the Supreme Brahman, the ultimate, the supreme abode and purifier, the absolute truth and the eternal divine person. The Lord is Parama Purush, the supreme form. Purusham Shashvatam. He is everlastingly the supreme enjoyer. It is not that the impersonal Brahman assumes a form. On the contrary, the impersonal Brahman effulgence is an emanation from the supreme form of the Lord. Brahmano hi pratishtaham amritasya vadyasya cha shashvatasya cha dharmasya sukasya kantikasya cha. This proves in the Bhagavad Gita that where Krishna says, I am the source, the basis for the impersonal Brahman. It's emanating from Krishna, not the other way around, which would be illogical anyway. Upon being purified, Brahma could see the supreme form of the Lord. See? Upon being purified. Spiritual life is a process of purification. So as we become purified, as the senses become purified by engaging in devotional service, gradually we're able to perceive the Lord. He reveals himself. The impersonal Brahman cannot have heads, noses, ears, hands, and legs. This is not possible, for these are attributes of the Lord's form. The word Mayamayam means spiritual knowledge. This is explained by Madhvacharya. Mayamayam Jnana Swarupam. That's nice. Listen. Mayamayam Jnana Swarupam. So Mayamayam Jnana Swarupam. The word Mayamayam describing the Lord's form should not be taken to mean illusion. Rather, the Lord's form is factual, and seeing this form is the result of perfect knowledge. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate. So Bahunam Janmanam Ante, after many births. Bahunam, many, many births. Janmanam. At the end, Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate. When one becomes Jnanavan, he's full of knowledge. He has this knowledge, then Mam Prapadyate. Then he surrenders to me. So this is the material world is a reformatory, and we're meant to come to this point of surrender to Krishna. And there's a way in which our experience in the material world is disheartening, to say the least. And then when we get a connection with Krishna through the medium of the spiritual master, Brahmanda Brahmate Kun Bhagyavan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasadi Pai Bhakti Lata Bij, then we can get that seed of devotional service within our heart. And then we can actually, using our own volition, engage in the process of surrender to Krishna. And this is the sole purpose of the human form of life, to come to this stage of surrendering to Krishna. No other business in human life. Krishna says in Gita, Daiva hiyesha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya mameva ye prapadyante mayamevam tarantite. It's very difficult to cross over the material ocean and to become free from this mire of birth and death. But if one surrenders to Krishna, he can easily cross beyond it. Easily. So someone who comes to this point, if you see someone engage in the surrender process, this is Bahunam Janmanamante, after many, many births and deaths. If a person becomes very intelligent, then he begins this surrender process to Krishna. And then Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. A person engaged in the surrender process who comes to understand that Krishna is everything, Vasudeva is everything. That person is a rare Mahatma, it's a rare soul. The word Jnanavan refers to one who is perfectly in knowledge. Such a person can see the personality of Godhead, and therefore he surrenders unto the Lord. The Lord's being symptomized by a face, nose, ears, and so on is eternal. The Lord's being symptomized by a face, nose, ears, and so on is eternal. Without such a form, no one can be blissful. The Lord, however, is Sakchit Ananda Vigraha. As stated in the Shastra, Ishvara Parama Krishna Sakchit Ananda Vigraha. When one is in perfect transcendental bliss, he can see the Lord's supreme form, Vigraha. In this regard, Srila Madhvacharya says, Gandakya Devata Yadvat Pritivim Vyapya Tishtati Evam Vyaptam Jagad Vishnum Brahmatma Stam Dadarshaha. Lord Brahma saw that as aromas and colors spread throughout the earth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead pervades the cosmic manifestation in a subtle form. Lord Brahma saw that as aromas and colors spread throughout the earth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead pervades the cosmic manifestation in a subtle form. Any comments or questions? Yes.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. I don't know if I missed something along the way, but I was wondering, as Krishna reveals himself to you, as you start the process of surrender and you go on, Krishna reveals himself to you. And I was wondering, he reveals himself to you in a physical form. He's a personal being, and you will realize him in that form. But then Krishna is in your heart as a super soul. And then he is himself in Golok Vrindavan. And like that, he has innumerable number of forms. So do we go in the process by first recognizing the super soul, within us and seeing him and then going on to the other forms of the Lord? Or is it just that we recognize him in the form we worship the most, what's closest to us in our heart? Is there a process of recognizing him?
Yeah, there is a progression from Brahman to Paramatma to Bhagavan, which is mentioned. Well, the process isn't mentioned, but there's a statement in the Shastra, Vadanti tattva vidas. In other words, the verse is saying, it is said, Vadanti tattva vidas, tattvam yad jnanam advayam, brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabdyate, that the absolute truth is realized in these three phases as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. However, Prabhupada mentions that when one takes the process of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, of chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, all these stages are subsumed within the process of chanting Hare Krishna. So Prabhupada describes this as the direct method, so that one can come directly to realization of Bhagavan without having to linger at the various phases of realization. However, it's not to be taken as a cheap thing. There is a description in the Chaitanya Charitamrita and Lord Chaitanya's teachings to Sanatana Goswami, and also in the Nectar of Devotion, of how one must come above the three modes of material nature, as Krishna says in the Gita, that Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma Nashochati Nakanshati Samak Sarveshu Bhuteshu Madbhaktim Labate Param. One has to be situated in this state beyond the three modes of material nature, a liberated state, Madbhaktim Labate Param. In that state, one can actually understand Bhagavan. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is expressing in the Shikshashtakam Jagadisha Kamaye. He's talking about Jagadish, the Lord of the universe. So there's a way in which in the earlier prayers he's speaking about our relationship with the Lord in the material world, like Paramatma is there, guiding us and so forth. But then, Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vishame Bhavam Buddha. In a more advanced stage of devotional service, there's an attraction to Krishna in a particular form, and his form that is not engaged with the material world. And so as we progress in devotional service, there's a way in which we become attracted to a particular form of Krishna in a particular relationship. And this is confirmed in the Nectar of Instruction, Tishtan Vraje Tananuragi Jananugami, that there's a way in which, by the process of hearing and chanting, Tanama Rupa Charitadu Sikirtananu Smrityo Kramena Rasana Manasiniyoja, one gradually, step by step, by the process of hearing and chanting and the association of devotees and performing the other processes of devotional service, comes to the liberated stage and becomes purified, and then is situated in Vrindavan and becomes attracted to Krishna in a particular way. And then one is advised to follow in the footsteps of a resident of Vrindavan who is engaged in the kind of relationship that one is attracted to. And then in that stage, one is more selective as far as one's hearing and chanting. But again, that shouldn't be done prematurely. One must fully develop one's devotional service by the order of Shastra and the spiritual master. And then gradually, when Krishna reveals these things, then one can also take guidance from the spiritual master and become engaged in a more specific way. Yes?
Actually, the reason I asked that was because when we work on anarthas and we're trying to correct ourselves and we want to follow Vaishnava philosophy and etiquette, and we realize that we're always, the shloka comes that the best association is the one who has no nindadi sunya hridayam. And to get to Nindadi Sunya Hridayam, I realized that first we must recognize the Paramatma within everybody around us. And that will help to get to that point. So I was thinking that there must be a flow.
Yeah, I mean, we can't overlook the Bhagavad Gita. Look, Krishna's talking about karma yoga. And, giving the fruit of your work and things like that. We should concentrate on these preliminary stages, the things that we're able to do to connect to Krishna in a very real way, and then gradually we'll come to a more advanced stage, not trying to bypass anything. Himanshu?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhuji, you were talking about Mahashucha and surrender, and like you always say, just depend on Krishna. And even in Leelamrita, there are many instances where Prabhupada just said, just depend on Krishna. I would request you to please enlighten deeper on this, because there are situations in life where we have to act using our intelligence, whatever we have, and there is a higher principle of depending on Krishna as well. But at least in my case, in the conditioned state, when there is an inner voice to act in a particular way, I'm not sure whether that's Krishna's voice or the voice of my own mind. So how to balance these two, that we depend on Krishna as well as we act responsibly in that particular situation also? Because
Well, a couple of points. One is that you mentioned Prabhupada in many instances surrendering to Krishna. But look at the instances that he surrendered to Krishna in the various stages of his life. Keshav Bharani Maharaj pointed this out in his Vyasa Puja offering that I read to you all last year or recently. And that was that Prabhupada in his youth, his father got him married. And there were two girls. And one was good looking, the other one wasn't. And his father said, I recommend the latter. And he surrendered to it. I mean, these are points in life. If we take Prabhupada in his Paramahamsa stage, in his Leela as a Paramahamsa, and just say, why can't I do that? But also look how Prabhupada went through different stages of his life. He had a married life. He had to make a choice between two. And he says this. He said, there was this one and that one. My father said, take that one. And I said, okay, surrender. And then he met his spiritual master, and his spiritual master said, you should forget this Gandhi thing, because even if you liberate the country, it's not going to change anything in the course of the way the material nature works. That's not going to be really significant. What is significant is Lord Chaitanya and his movement and so forth. You should work for that. So then he took that up, and then there were ways in which in his business he surrendered. I mean, when he was in Allahabad, I think it was Sridhar Maharaj and some of the other Gaudiya Math members came there and said, we need a place to set up a place. Sure, use this. And he donated a bunch of money from his pharmacy and everything to get them started. That's another stage of his life. If you go through his life, you'll see at every phase of his life he surrendered. So this is a very practical thing. If you're at a certain stage of your life and situated in a certain way, there's a way to surrender at that point. Swe swe adhikarya nishta sādhana parikirtita. There's a good quality if you surrender according to your adhikarya at the time, according to your station in life. You do that kind of surrender that you can. And then you'll gradually come to this perfect stage. How to understand what is Krishna's will? Sometimes very difficult to understand. Even, around Bhishma Dev, everyone was saying, tell us what's going on. And Arjuna wanted to know, what is my duty? I have to fight this war. It seemed very confusing. He went to his guru, Krishna, and asked, what should I do? So we constantly have to check in, triangulate by taking Guru Sadhu Shastra. We align ourselves around these principles. What does it say in the Shastra? What does the Guru say? And what are the, what's the general precedent that the sadhus have set? Because Shastra also, it may say seemingly contradictory things sometimes. Do this, do that. So the Bhagavatam says, therefore, Mahajano yena gatasa panta. The real path is set by the Mahajans. What did they do? What is the example that they set? And there are various kinds of evidence that Krishna says we should take. What is it? Shruti pratyaksham aitiyam anumanam chatushtayam. So these 4 kinds of evidence one should take, and aitiyam is one of them. Aitiyam means this tradition. What is the Vaishnava tradition? How has it been passed down? Through many ages. Like in a legal system, what is the precedent? The lawyer, the judge wants to know, what's the precedent? What did all the other courts decide on this case? And if there's strong precedent, then he doesn't change it. Even if he has a different opinion, so that's all right. It's already got that. It goes that way. That's the way it goes. So you have to find your way through this life very artfully. This is the art of living, actually. And how to follow Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra in such a way that you come to the ultimate goal. So you have to live a life, a pure life. Yesham twantagatam papam jananam punyakarmanam te dvandva mohanir mukta bhajanti mam dhridavrta. Dhridavrta means that you have to be that you're determined on your path back home, back to Godhead. That kind of determination means that you're attached to the Shastra. You attach yourself to Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. And you can only do that when you're controlling your senses also. Otherwise, as I said earlier, you won't be able to hear the voice of the Super Soul, nor will you be able to follow the order of the spiritual master very, enthusiastically, or take the encouragement that's coming down. You also have to give up sinful activity and situate yourself in such a way that you can take advantage of all these things, so you can hear it. So you can hear what's being transmitted from the spiritual world. That requires some really fine-tuned hearing. Yeah, we want to hear what's coming from the spiritual world. You can hear that message, what Krishna is telling you to do, but you have to listen very carefully. That's why we try not to mess it up with other kinds of sounds and vibrations and ways of life that pollute the consciousness and so forth. But Krishna is so generous and so kind that he's always guiding us, and even what we may consider missteps are not the end. They can become pillars to success when we continue on in our devotional service. What looks like a loss actually can become a great gain for us if you're just sincere. That's the point. If you stay sincere, tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yenamam upayanti te. The Krishna informs our intelligence if we're sincere. If we just worship him sincerely, Krishna will enliven our intelligence. He'll inform our intelligence. Yes.
So, Prabhu, just one point that I wanted to share. We have many examples at ISV. I just thought I'll share one such example of who remains always encouraged in spite of all the difficulties. So, many times when Sankirtan goals come and before it's met, I see Malini, she's very anxious. And she was saying, Mataji, I was anxious because our goals are big. But then, each and every Sankirtan devotee has done, they do so much sacrifice to achieve the goals. But at least personally, I'm very close with Malini that I see the anxiety that she carries within her heart. Because for me, give me a job, I'm done. I don't want to carry the anxiety. But over almost 10 years now, she is carrying that anxiety within her to meet the goals, which is very difficult. When we really sit and think about so many obstacles that we have faced, it's unimaginable, though she looks like a normal householder taking care of all these things. It's really such a great task to carry that anxiety and coordinating, and just simply by carrying that anxiety, I think she's really setting an example for others. And it's not that she's slacking on other things, she's also doing it. So I was just talking to her day before yesterday, and she was saying that it's simply because Mataji, everything is possible because Vaisesika Prabhu is praying for us. So Pooja and I were just discussing about that, and we were thinking that yes, pure devotees praying for us is a big force, because when we come in their attention, as you said, we become encouragers, and then that people can do miracle, even ordinary people can do miracles. So I think carrying the anxiety and being encouragers, I think if we look closely with all the devotees, we can see many things and get encouragement. So I want to thank Malini and all the devotees.
Sadhu! Sadhu! Very well put. And somebody's praying for me. Otherwise, how can I go on? And this is the culture of encouragement that we have in our Vaishnavism, is that devotees are always praying for each other and wishing that others well, helping the devotees to move forward. This is the real culture of Vaishnavism. That parupakar means that devotees are trying to help each other. Machita makata prana bodhayanta parasparam kathayantashamam nityam tushanticha ramanticha. They enjoy that, talking amongst themselves, and also they go out to encourage others. That's what Sankirtan is. We're encouraging others to take Krishna consciousness. And also, I like this point about, one who carries that anxiety of the duty to reach goals, to perform the sacrifice of Sankirtan. It's an all-encompassing sacrifice. And in the Gita, Krishna talks about how he says that the supreme transcendence is eternally situated in acts of sacrifice. That's where to find Krishna, in acts of sacrifice. Bona fide sacrifice. So in the age of Kali Yuga, the sacrifice is Sankirtan. Previously, there were all kinds of yagyas. We read about in the Bhagavatam how there were even these sacrifices in which the priest would sacrifice an animal, but they would bring him back to life through the mantra. Traffic flow. Okay, so now, so there were ways in which the priests, they would perform sacrifice. Like there's a horse sacrifice we just read about in the Ramayana, right? But then life would be brought back with mantra. They would prove the efficacy of the mantra by do the sacrifice, the animal would get new life. So I was thinking the other day about our book distribution. I told you that mantra earlier about getting the donation. So then I was thinking that how this book distribution, the Sankirtan, is actually, it covers all the sacrifice for this age of Kali. Tritaye, Dayatai, what is that verse? Dayato, all the sacrifice that was performed in previous ages is available in the Kali Yuga through Sankirtan. So it says, Mayam Rigam Dayate Yepsitaman Vidavad. This is from Karabhajana Muni in the Srimad Bhagavatam. He says that in the age of Kali Yuga, people are like mrigam, they're like animals. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was chasing after them to give them Krishna consciousness. So the efficacy of our mantra, it's like we're killing it's like we're killing the animal in them, but we're bringing them back to life with the mantra. So when we give them a book and say, yeah, books on yoga and meditation, shows you how to get free from stress, etc., give a donation, and then they give the donation, they take the book home, that's the yajna. And it's just like when they performed yajna and they sacrificed the animal, bring him back to life. So it's like the animal was sacrificed through the mantra, and then he gets new life. He walks away with the Bhagavad Gita or the Srimad Bhagavatam. Starts all over again. So now I want to hear more about encouragement, because we have a culture of encouragement. Krishna is encouraging, the spiritual masters are encouraging, those who are pure-hearted, Nindadi Shunya, they're encouraging everybody. And one sentence of pure encouragement from someone who's got all good intentions can bolster our spirits for a long time. So can you think of instances, circumstances where someone gave you encouragement in devotional service that had a profound effect on you? Any specific cases? Yes. Sukeshwari needs the microphone in the back. Is there some kind of Kumbh Mela or something going on here?
Sorry, Prabhu, we actually have a rehearsal today, soon,
It's
for the
not
kids.
right.
So actually, we have some Mataji stuff.
It's what?
We're doing a program tomorrow, so kids are...
Okay.
Prabhuji, I was thinking about the encouragement. I recently, hearing Kalasudha Mataji on call, her classes. So, when I do something, when I have an effect of doing some devotional service and feel happy, usually I don't share it as much, and I think that, when I share it, or even if I share it, I always think in my mind that I did good. I feel proud about myself. And then, so I start feeling, I didn't like that part. So then I decided that when I feel something or do something good, I shouldn't be, sharing it with that aspect. But I like the point what Kalasudha Mataji put, when she said something that she's able to do. So she says that it is because of Krishna and Guru's mercy, and when you share it, it should be that I'm not able to do anything, but because of Krishna, I'm actually doing this. And automatically, we don't feel proud about ourselves because we're actually not doing it. And because she was just saying that about her 16 rounds of chanting during early hours, like from 3:15 to 4:45. And I was just thinking in my mind that, 15-minute increments in moving towards the goal at some point encouraged me so that I will be able to try to do as many rounds as possible during the Brahma Muhurta. So I just wanted to share that because I've realized that when I'm trying to do some devotional service, it's okay to share in a mood that I'm doing this just because Krishna is merciful on me. It's not that I am doing it. So when she said that, it really encouraged me that even though I may not be able to imitate devotees like her, but at least would like to follow. Thank you, Prabhu.
So your point was that when you're getting some mercy and feeling inspiration in your devotional service, that passing that on to other devotees can also help them. And if you're doing it in a mood also of just sharing the mercy that you got to help them, right?
Yes, in a mood that I didn't get the mercy because I am worth it, but Krishna is merciful.
Nice point.
Thank you.
Yeah. Srivas Prabhu.
So to have this sort of mood of encouragement, we also started a program called Senko, which was essentially the devotees who had taken the voluntary service of encouraging others in their spiritual progress. And I just wanted to tell that as in future we'll have a little more information on this particular program so that the devotees can take advantage of it and be encouraged and be enlivened. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Nice point, Srivas Prabhu. Very practical.
Prabhu, when I was in LA and doing my master degree there, at that time I started visiting ISKCON temple at the time, and then I repeatedly get the devotee association during the Sunday feast program. So we're talking by association. We fortunate enough, means myself, getting the Kṛṣṇa Namacharya Prabhu in LA, and he is very nice devotee, and his association is encourage always us to like enter in the Krishna consciousness or take something. So lifetime I was as a vegetarian, and for me like onion garlic, I said how can I live onion garlic? So after association of 6 months or 1 year, after that one time we are talking, and he mentioned that whatever you cooks, right, you offer to God or Krishna? We said no. She said, why? You can just offer something. We said, Prabhu, but we are cooking with onion and garlic. So he said but you cook rice? We said yes. She said, rice has onion and garlic? We said no. Just offer the rice. He said, okay, Prabhu, we'll do from tomorrow. Then, on the Monday we start cooking for the dinner, and we thought, okay, today we have to offer to Krishna first time. Then we all roommates, 5 roommates, and we cooks like 4-5 items every night. So we started to think about, okay, we'll offer rice to Krishna, but we think, okay, we'll have sabji and everything with onion and garlic, and Krishna will eat only rice. How it possible? And from that day, we start cooking without onion and garlic, so that simple change was so much encouraging for the lifetime.
Wow, brilliant. So, yes, Shraddha.
I was thinking that sometimes when people give you tasks that you think are beyond you, there's a subtle encouragement in there, because they are demonstrating their faith in you that you will be able to achieve that, although it appears very difficult. And so I just wanted to mention that I've been getting that sort of encouragement a lot from you, especially like I've been in the computer industry for a very long time, but I've been usually in the position of a manager, not knowing the details, etc. But you gave me some services which were, you gave them to me as anybody would, thinking that, he's from the computer industry, so she should know that, but I did not know them. And then I had to really work hard and read and study and then be able to do that. So thank you for that encouragement. That comes every time. Yeah. And I've also noticed that about Sukeshwari Mataji's, when she was talking about sharing your achievements in the right mood, I have noticed that I don't share much of those, but I do enjoy it in my mind. So I have this nice feeling in my mind that I've done that. But Kṛṣṇa is very quick these days to pull me down, and then I'll go into some very stupid mistakes that I would look at my work the next day and think like I did that, like that kind of stuff. So Kṛṣṇa kind of just brings me down very, very, very quickly, even inside the mind. So that's again Kṛṣṇa encouraging from inside. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, Malini.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, at certain point of my life, there were some difficulties where I was not doing my service as much as I wanted to. And I had this question about service. And then I remember I got so many instructions from so many devotees, and I felt that I was very encouraged. But one instruction which stuck with my mind, and I always remember that if a service comes to you, means Kṛṣṇa is actually giving that service to you, that doesn't mean that the service belongs to you. The service is actually coming for Kṛṣṇa. But you cannot be attached to the service, but you should be attached to the mood of that service. So since then I've been thinking about that, oh, this is my service, this is your service. That is not the right consciousness, but we should be attached to the mood of the service.
Nice. I like that. Yes, Trisha.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. So when I first came to Krishna consciousness in India, there was one devotee who was very encouraging. He always was full of encouragement. I always looked the good of, when I was pretty much just completely new. So that really, helped change my life in the sense of, just connecting to him, becoming more friendly with him, it really helped me, learn more about and come closer to the process. So that really helped me. And I want to thank you for being very encouraging. I've always seen that you always look at the good in me and all others, in spite of there being so many other things. So you're always looking at the good, and that really makes such a big difference.
Yeah, well, I remember when you first came, and the devotees came over to me and said, "You got to see this tree shub. He's really good." And so far, we haven't seen anything else in you besides. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Actually, after coming to Krishna consciousness, like when we see each and every devotee, something is encouraging. If we sincerely look for some encouragement, like what can I learn from this devotee? Each has something, some nice mode, some specific quality that we can always render for. But the thing is, after coming to ISV especially, I must mention that I was not that much in reading, but by attending the classes and hearing the very active discussion, it always encouraged to read more, read verses, do like whatever you do, that is your duty. But to read the sastras, it's the main thing. If you don't know, you can't explain to anyone. And if you can't explain anyone, then you are not trying to be a part of the Sri Chaitanya's movement. So that means it's really encouraged that we always try to do something for, I know we can't do much, but whatever little we can do, we should always try. And it's always, I got specially encouragement to read Shastras after coming ISV.
Nice. I really like your point too about seeing something in each devotee that's uniquely encouraging. And I'm also thinking of a couple ways in which Krishna encourages us to encourage others. In the Bhagavad Gita, when he says that sometimes if people are ignorant of the process of devotional service, we shouldn't discourage them, but we should engage them in acts of devotion through their work. And Krishna is very encouraging in the 12th chapter when he says that you should think of me always, 24 hours a day. But if you can't do that, then just engage in the process of sādhanā so that you can come to that point. If you can't do that, then just give your money to help support Krishna consciousness. If you can't do that, then just be charitable. If you can't do that, then be detached from your work, engage in meditation, and so forth. And there's ways throughout the Bhagavad Gita that Krishna is very encouraging. Neha bikramanashosti pratyavayona vidyate swalpamapya siddharmasya trayate mahatobaya. He's saying, su alpam, even if it's tiny, tiny, tiny bit you do, it's good. And also, patram pushpam palam toyam yome bhaktya prayachiti taraham bhakti paritam ashnami paritatmanaha. If you just offer me a leaf, a flower, fruit, or water, I'll accept it. Just a little bhakti, that's all I ask. Advaitacharya got so encouraged when he remembered a verse from the Shastra that said, if you simply offer tulsi leaves and water with sincere feeling, then the Lord becomes purchased. So throughout this Shastra, Krishna is giving ways that just do a little bit, just do something, and you'll get a wonderful result from this, and encourage others as well. And then I was also thinking about how you were telling about the story of offering the prasad, start with the rice, and you think, well, the other one, how are we going to mix it together? And how Narada Muni had encouraged Valmiki Muni, telling him that, he said, I can't chant. I just can't do it. I can't even, I'm too sinful. I can't even say the name of God. He said, all right, just say the name of death. and he encouraged him, okay, go ahead, keep saying it. And then after some time, he became completely purified. So the devotees are always looking for these ways to encourage people, fan the spark. That's the idea behind that is find a way that you can encourage somebody, and then that's an art. It's an art. Always looking for the way that a particular person can become encouraged in devotional service. That's a way of life. That's what Vaishnavas do. They're always looking to encourage others and to encourage themselves. They know that the body, mind, it can be a burden, it can be a drag. Therefore, they're constantly encouraging their own selves. As we hear in the Nityananda Ashtakam, Lord Nityananda was merciful even to people who weren't merciful to their own selves. So we should encourage ourselves also, because there's a way in which even the mind can become discouraging and say, oh, you can't do anything, you're no good, why even try, and so forth. But we have to conquer the lower self by the higher self, by fortifying ourselves regularly with the encouragement of Shastra and Guru and the sadhus. And in that way, we should encourage ourselves. Yes?
Prabhuji, thank you very much for encouraging us when you made your visit to our home. That has such a profound impact, that, as you mentioned, to use it for the service of Krishna. At the time, in our brain, in my mind, home is not to serve Krishna. I mean, it's what you said, but slowly, your mercy or your instruction is helped in my mind that it can be done. And very recently, when Govindat Prabhu's visit.
Okay.
No, Govindat.
Mukundadatta?
Mukundadatta, sorry.
Yeah.
Mukundadatta Prabhu last week when he visited our house for the Saturday's Discovery Year program class, we had, a very full house. And at that time, there was no anxiety in my brain how we are going to serve. There was no tension in my brain how we are going to take care. I think all went perfect. And thank you for that. Thank you.
Jai. Oh, another one I thought of. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to South India, he took Kala Krishnadas with him. And on the way back to Jagannath Puri, Kala Krishnadas fell down. He was with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally. But there were these Bhattaharis who were kind of gypsy-like people, nomads. And they have a way that they attract people into their camp by alluring them with these women who are very alluring somehow, I don't know. And so Kala Krishnadas left the association of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, ran off with these Bhattaharis. And so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went after his servant. He tracked him down, went to the camp of the Bhattaharis, and he went to get his... So he said, why are you... I'm a sannyasi, I'm a renunciate, why are you troubling me like this, taking my servant? And then they all started chasing after him with weapons. And the weapons fell on themselves. Mahaprabhu grabbed Kala Krishnadas by the hair and pulled him back. And took him back to Jagannath Puri with him. And after he had arrived and settled in, then he called a meeting. And he called Kala Krishnadas, Lord Nityananda, and a few others, and he said, just see the character of this person. He was in my association, and he left. And he said, I have no more service for him. Meaning, like he was rejected. And Kala Krishnadas started crying. And then Mahaprabhu got up and left. And then Lord Nityananda and several other devotees got together and with a conspiracy, made a conspiracy, and they came back to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and they said, my Lord, we need somebody to go to Navadvip to inform Mother Sachi and all the devotees there that you've come back from your tour of South India. Can we send somebody? And Mahaprabhu said, yes, choose whomever you like. And so they took Kala Krishnadas, said, okay, you're going to go to Navadvip and tell everybody. So he got to be a big hero, actually. He got some nice service. And this was the mercy of the devotees who had seen what had happened to Kala Krishnadas, and they conspired to keep him engaged in devotional service. So this is the mood of the devotees. They're always trying to encourage everyone, no matter if somebody goes off the edge one way or the other way, they're thinking how to keep them in the process of devotional service and encouraged in their service. Hare Krishna.
Krishna Prabhu. I joined a little late, so I'm kind of understanding that the topic is about how things, how devotees have encouraged you. Is that the...
Yes.
So I had two special instances to tell you. One is about me and second is about my father. About me, it happened just last week, actually this last Saturday. So I travel to Denver every week. So I went to the Denver temple, and there it was Ramanujacharya's appearance day as per Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya calendar. So there Tushta Prabhu, he called for a Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya disciple to come and give a talk on Ramanujacharya. I am very fascinated with Alvars and Ramanujacharya pastimes, and I said, let me go and attend. But a part of me was always, I've never seen any other Sampradaya apart from Gaudiya Vaishnava, so I had all kinds of doubts, should I go, should I not, or it was in ISKCON temple, so I just went, and it was such a nice, sweet lecture given by, the Prabhu there. His name is Mohan Prabhu. So he told something, which apparently I was struggling with. It's all about getting attracted to Lord Krishna. I was not getting attracted considering him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I was not getting attracted considering him as somebody saying Bhagavad Gita. Somehow there was some part of it lacking, but suddenly out of the blues he told something. He said, in Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya we consider a boy who is black and who always keeps helping everyone. He wants to take everyone's problems in the village. And the way he portrayed it, of Krishna just being a person, a very nice person, just as a person, just a very nice person, suddenly, started a new kind of attraction and encouragement for me to serve him as a person. So I wanted to share that.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah, and about my father, this happened 3 years back. My father, like two and a half. So he came to US, after knowing that I've kind of started into Krishna consciousness. He was concerned. So, so he came, and we were in Boston, and few devotees told me not to tell any philosophy, just to keep it calm, right? And then I kept it calm. Then it was an association of devotees. And then he started understanding, but he had his own questions that, hey, you are doing all this in US, but it's not going to work in India, So you go back and you can't follow all this in India. In US, you live in your house, you can't do it in India. So you had so many reasons to tell me not, no onion garlic, what are you saying? It's not going to work, no meat eating, how is it going to work? Anything for that, no intoxication. So I couldn't give any answers. But it so happened that it was you who came to Boston, if you remember, and you gave a program in Nitin Prabhu's house. And then my father was sitting there, and you made just one statement, that it is only, I can't recollect the exact words, but you said, if you want to do something, it's only you stopping it from doing it, And, lack of words, my father heard so many lectures, I made him hear, but somehow that one word stuck to him. And even today he quotes you and thanks you for that. Yeah, he's now chanting rounds. He's doing everything that he can. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you very much. Please give him my best. Yeah, it goes around the world. It's so powerful encouragement that it can act there can be a chain reaction from that also. Another one, yes, please.
Because he talked about his father, it reminded me about my father. Prabhuji, last year when I went to India, I took my father to Vrindavan. And then also in the Delhi ISKCON temple, when we went there, we forgot to take the prasadam. It's usually, custom to take some prasadam then, in typical temples there, but we didn't do that. And on the way back, we thought like we should take some prasadam home. So we should buy something from the Govinda restaurant. And then we asked for that. Then there they don't sell you the prasadam. It has to be offered. There was some prasadam was there, but it was not offered yet, some sweets. So I asked my father, let's take tea or something till they're going to offer it. They took like 10 minutes or maybe 15 minutes after it was offered. That has a profound impact on my father. Like, it's not like in a typical a baniya shop back in India where you just do it, okay, Hare Krishna, Krishna, okay, done. 10 or 15 minutes of offering and then they got it back. That particular instant in my father's brain is, this is serious, something different, not a formality. I think I've shared with many people, it has also in my brain as well that even when we at home, sometimes we do, offering a very quick, sometimes we do it. Even our daughter, Avantika sometimes, asked us, Krishna, let him give him some time to eat, don't just take it quickly back, So I think that has a very profound impact on my father and also on my mind.
Very interesting, yeah. We keep ourselves close to the devotees, to the Dham, to the Bhagavatam, and there are many ways in which just by proximity, and we don't know exactly when it'll happen, how it'll happen, but there'll be an instant that will encourage us greatly in devotional service. You raise your hand, you got the mic, go ahead.
In addition to so many inspirational talks,
1 inch.
And, quotes that I personally heard from your Lotus Maharaji, I just was very much inspired by a simple fact that you shared so many times. Just be the party dog and you're taken care of everything.
Be what? Party?
Party dog.
Party dog.
Yeah.
I see.
And you're taken care of.
Oh, be like the dog of the of the spirit of the Vaishnav. Yeah. Thank you.
It's very nice.
Jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Hare Krishna, Vaisesika. I wanted to share that I personally found very encouraging. Sometimes the devotees who hangs around, they're like devotee family members, but we don't see them so much often. But when they are around, for example, Shraddha Mataji, she's here, and Rakesh Prabhu, I don't see him so much. But when we had this devotee appreciation day, and that day Rakesh Prabhu had shared his realization, and he was really overwhelmed by the feelings of the love for the devotees and what devotees are doing. So just seeing his, overwhelming feelings and affection and love for the devotees, that can be also, that was so much deep, touched my heart, and I felt like so much encouraged by him. And I was just thinking, it's so sweet that we think that devotees who are always around the temple or always chanting or always engaged in something, but I just felt like even the devotees, even next to them, whoever they are, or even, it can be anything, and that can be also so influential, can be encouraging us in our spiritual life. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you, Hansa Priya. Very nice. Very nice.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Shamalangi?
Prabhu, I wanted to share how I could increase the number of rounds I chanted. I never thought I would be able to, because 1 or 2 were more than enough for me. Very big credit goes to Shraddha Mataji. She would tell, just wake 5 minutes. I would say I don't have time in the morning. She would say just 5 minutes earlier so you can add 1 round, something like that. But still I never thought that I could go up to 16. But what happened is when Govind Charan and Rasika Mataji, when they came here first time, so I happened to talk to Rasika Mataji, and I asked her that, Mataji, how long have you been chanting, 16 rounds? And she said, I used to chant 8 rounds for a while, and then on 9/11, when that incident happened, so her husband, Govind Charan Prabhu, he told her, now you should start chanting 16 rounds. See, nothing is permanent. Anything can happen tomorrow to you as well. And she started chanting 16 rounds since that day. So that one thing, I don't know, as you said, you don't know what is the exact point, what will encourage you. And the next day I started chanting 16 rounds. I don't know. So that had a very big impact on me.
Wow.
I thanked her on my initiation day also that, you have a very big role. So.
Yeah, very powerful. It reminds me, just these, hearing these stories about devotees who have a sudden breakthrough in their devotional service is very encouraging. While I was just traveling recently, we meet with a lot of devotees Devotees just want to meet one-on-one and talk and, say what's going on. So one devotee was, I had talked to a while back about a service that he was planning on doing, but he was having, he had some obstacles. And one of them was that, he was smoking. So it was very difficult to give up this smoking habit. This nicotine is very hard to kick, this habit, And so he was telling me that when he got some service, he became so eager to perform the service, and then he realized that it was either the smoking or the service. He couldn't do both. And so then he went before the deities in his temple, and he began praying. And he said he prayed so hard that tears came to his eyes, and were pouring down his face, and praying, please let me have this service. Please let me, give up this habit. And then he said it was like a miracle. It went away. And he had tried for years different programs and patches and gums and psychologists and hypnotists and everything, and nothing. But when he went and prayed to Krishna and tears came from his eyes, he said it wasn't like I'm even trying to fight it or anything. He said it just went away. And he was so encouraged by that Krishna gave him that opportunity. He prayed for it. He gave him the opportunity. He said, okay, take the service. Give up this bad habit. And so great encouragement can come when we have these breakthroughs. In fact, nothing succeeds like success. And nothing is as encouraging as advancement. So when we get a little bit of advancement, we actually see, oh, this works. Actually, Krishna is reciprocating my desire and so forth. Then we become greatly encouraged, and we can encourage others also. This is actually when we're feeling encouraged by getting this kind of reciprocation, then we become more and more qualified to encourage others. So we have a little time for one more. Someone else had, yes, you've been trying to get in for a while. Okay, question.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
I had this question about encouragement and surrender. Actually, I had kind of two questions linked together. So this question about encouragement is to get encouraged. You were talking about how. Okay, let me rephrase my question. So whenever we get an encouragement from either spiritual master or senior devotees, at least for me, most of the time there is some kind of blocks because of my anarthas, like lust, anger, greed, pride, can be any of them. So unless you really surrender to the authority or something, it's really difficult to take that encouragement because of your blocks. And I feel surrendering takes time. I mean, you cannot immediately surrender. I mean, it's a process. So how do we go about when you have this anartha which is blocking you from taking that encouragement and surrendering? If you don't have surrender, it's really difficult to take that as an encouragement. I hope I'm clear with my question.
So, if I understood your question correctly, you're saying it's hard to accept encouragement when there are anarthas, and to get rid of anarthas is a process of surrender and so forth. Is that true? You can't take any encouragement when you have anarthas?
Sometimes I feel that.
Sometimes it's hard to accept encouragement?
Yes.
How do you mean that? What's it like an incident? If somebody tries to encourage you to do more, or
maybe
is saying
it's
you're
like
doing...
a service, somebody wants to encourage me in a particular service and I don't know whether I want to do it and I want to do something else.
Mm-hmm.
Is that I'm not surrendered? Or, it's not, even that's a service, but maybe I'm interested in doing something else.
So someone gives you an encouragement and you're not able to take it at the time, something like that. Sometimes we get encouragement and then we're not able to act on it right away. And then, but we keep that. It sticks, and it'll come back at the appropriate time. We'll be able to accept it. We should keep those things, and when we are ready, they'll manifest. So, it's not always that we can act on everything because we're at a particular point. But if a devotee is giving us some encouragement out of goodwill, then we should accept that there's a seed being planted that will fructify at some point because it's coming from the goodwill of a devotee. Also, encouragement, it should be, it's as I said earlier, it's an art. In a way, there's a way that we should administer encouragement in such a way that devotees can actually take it. And at every stage, there are kinds of encouragement that we can give to others, even if someone has anartas and so forth. And mostly everybody does, unless they're in the topmost platform of devotional service. So there's a way that we should accommodate those, or we should understand what position they're in and try to give them encouragement they can take in incremental steps. I mean, that's what encouragement means also, to find out what's appropriate for the person we're encouraging. Everyone can be encouraged at whatever level they're at. But how to take it, we have to prepare ourselves to accept. Like, Guyamakyati Prichyati means that you're not only you're giving, but also you're open for taking. So we have to practice taking encouragement also, because sometimes there's a way in which someone might have a feeling due to low self-esteem or something, that somebody gives them some encouragement, and then they might feel, oh, I can't take that, or something like that. But we should try to prepare ourselves to take encouragement, and if you can't take it right away, then save it and bring it out later when you can take it. I mean, Prabhupada's spiritual master encouraged him right when he saw him. The first second he saw him, he said, you should engage in preaching Lord Chaitanya's movement. And Prabhupada argued with him a little bit. And said, but, Gandhi's movement, we got to get liberation first and independence and so forth. And his spiritual master kept encouraging him and said, no, this is the real thing. You don't need to wait for independence and so forth. And Prabhupada said he took that encouragement within his heart, even though he wasn't able to execute it. In fact, it wasn't even until about 11 years later he was able to get initiated. And then after that, it took him, he said, many more years before he was able to take that initial encouragement and really execute it. So when we get encouragement from someone, and you can't fully execute it at the time, save it. Put it in a little jar, and you can turn around and look at it from time to time. And when you're ready, you can take it completely. Malini, last point.
Prabhuji, when we went to Mayapur this year, that one thing which stuck with me was the point that you made about the appreciating capacity. Our progress in devotional life depends upon the appreciating capacity that we have. And then after that, I noticed so many instances that when I appreciate others, actually I feel happy, not that I'm trying to do something for others. And I felt that even the whole devotional service looks different when I have that appreciating capacity in my mind.
Nice point. Prabhupada's point from the Chaitanya Charitamrita about the appreciating capacity. So tonight we've talked about this Pracodayāt. Chud is the root word in Sanskrit, which means to encourage, to impel forward in a process. And pra is an intensifier. So prachud or prachodayāt. And we should become prachodakas, which means encouragers. This is what Vaishnavas do. They encourage everyone. They fan the spark in others that they see. And we should encourage ourselves also by taking full advantage of what we can take now. And knowing that by a little contact with devotional service every day in a sincere way, it'll grow into something profound. It will transform us no matter what situation we're in. Unfortunately, we have to stop because we still have to put the seats away. So you'll have to hold that for the next time. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Prahlad Maharaj ki jai, Shri Nrsingadev ki jai. And now we also have Nrsinga Chaturdasi, the day we've been waiting for a long time. Tomorrow, starting at 4:30 a.m., we're going to have Mangalartik, and then we'll have hearing and chanting throughout the morning, and then we're going to have an evening program here to celebrate Nrsinga Chaturdasi. And we'll also be hearing the Bhagavatam. We're almost to the end of the prayers by Prahlad Maharaj. Due to the diligence of the devotees who have kept the vibration going, we've read almost the full 7th canto over the last few weeks, which is a really wonderful yajna. And then we'll finish it tomorrow, come to the conclusion of that chapter. So everyone please come and get the mercy of Lord Nrsingadev. Go Premanande Haribo! And thanks to everyone who joined us online tonight. We really appreciate you being there. And we'll see you again tomorrow. Hare Krishna.
Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman, hey, Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman.